Okay, let's start this presentation. The motivation for us to have this presentation comes from my experience, my years of experience, what I've seen in workplaces, what I have had, what people basically have told me about their situations related to work, and then I relate this with individuals who have not gotten the opportunity to understand some of these things that happen at workplaces. So I will use a number of experiences that I have witnessed, that I have heard of, to really explain some of these dynamics. They are hugely important because they have an impact on the trajectory, the trajectory of your careers. So we are going to basically look at that in details. But before we go any further, let me just sort out this. So it is good. This is what quality sort of. Okay, so in this presentation, we are going to look at what office politics is, and we also understand the nature of organizations, and then look at what we call political intelligence. We also look at political games, and then what we call political pitfalls. So that is what we are going to be discussing. Of course, when we talk about work politics, usually the notion is that there should be no politics at the workplace, but that is actually not true. In a workplace, there will always be politics, just like what you have in a home. In a home, there are political dynamics. Okay, even when you have a nuclear home, there are political dynamics around that. Okay, so and then also the notion that or the statement that every man is a political animal. That is not a statement that comes from the blue. It's a statement that holds water. Okay, so that means that when you have more than one person in the same kind of environment, you will have politics. Okay, so politics are played in every area, whether at home, whether at a workplace, even at the church. Okay, in your worship places, there are politics. Okay, so it is very important that you actually understand these politics. If you understand these politics, then it is most likely that you'll be a happy man, just like the picture that you are having there. You'll be a happy person at work. You will get the salary that you deserve. You will get the promotions that you deserve. And you will not be having quarrels and conflicts with people. Okay, if you initiate a project, you will get enough support for your project, including the resources to execute that project. When you sit down with your supervisor, you will have very good ratings. Okay, your performance evaluation will be good, and you will be able to associate with people that are giving you positive energy. So you basically have positive relations. Okay, and you avoid issues to do with cliques. However, if you don't know how to play the politics right, it's most likely you'll be confused. You will not know whether you are in the right place or not, whether you did the right course or not, whether you actually have the right job description or position. Okay, so you'll find work very suddenly. Every time you wake up in the morning thinking about going to the workplace, your body reacts, you get stressed. Okay, your projects are not moving, you're not happy with your colleagues. When you sit down with your supervisor for an evaluation, the results are poor. No one is treating you fairly, and you're always quarreling with people. So that means that politics is very important in the workplace. If you don't know how to play it, you may end up a sad person at your workplace. Understanding how organizations work is very important. It lays the ground for which you can apply the right techniques to be able to maneuver. How do you make sure that you position yourself to get that promotion, to get that salary increment, to get the good things that come with work? So it means understanding the way organizations work is very important. There are some realities that you should know. There are actually realities that are contrary to what sometimes we teach you in management classes. In management classes, we tell you that decisions are supposed to be objective and they are based on evidence. this evidence comes from either research or surveys. But the truth of the matter is, some decisions or majority of the decisions that will affect will affect you at your workplace are actually subjective. They are not made based on rational thinking. Okay, they are not made based on rational thinking. So that is one myth that you have to understand. Generally, as human beings, we are beings that have preferences for different things. We have preferences. You can have someone who is working very hard and is not liked by the boss, but he brings in the results. And then there is this other person who is not bringing in the results, but is liked by the boss and is often given the bonuses, given the all those benefits that can be given to a person, virtue of their position in an organization. So that is one thing that you need to master, that decisions are actually subjective. They are not objective. One story I want to relate this with is one where I remember working in an organization, and the funding was coming to a close. But that funding was coming to close in the next 6 months ahead. However, the decision to start reducing the number of people was done earlier than that. Okay, the first person who fell victim of not extending his contract was a person who was actually hardworking and had worked with the organization for more than 8 years.
Hello.
Okay, more than 8 years, doing very good. His evaluations were okay, but he was the first person to be eliminated from the organization.
Hello.
Even prior to the funding ending. Okay, so why did that really happen? It was because it was time when they were not having very good relationships with very good working relationship with the boss. So the decision was made and he was terminated. Okay, but objectively, if you are going to make a decision on who to fire first or whose contract you have to terminate, it cannot be him, because you look at his experience, his loyalty, and everything, and then you say, no, this person will not go. But that is not how organizations mainly work. The second point, which is impossibility of justice, is the assumption that actually you will be treated fairly. This is a wrong assumption, and I see it actually even here a lot with the students. The assumption that you will be treated fairly is something that is abstract. It's not a reality. It's not a reality. So many things will take place at the workplace and be a demonstration of injustice. But it is injustice that is clothed. It is injustice that is well dressed. So you will not be able to see it openly. And it is actually very hard to see it, or even to see people comment that the way that organization does it is injustice. Okay? So it is done in ways that are not visible. Okay? So don't be highly expectant of justice always prevailing. Okay? So that is also another thing that you really need to be aware of. The third one is for you to know how to pick your battles. Often, if you understand the rule that the person who has the most power will always win, if you understand that rule, then it means that there are battles you will not go into, and you actually know your limits. Okay, some people don't actually know their limits. That's one of the problems. Is to assume that you can talk to your boss as if you are talking to a colleague at the same level. You can yell, okay? You can speak loudly, you can hit the table, you can do everything you want, but overall, you cannot win over him. That's one of the realities that you really need to know. Okay? There was one time a supervisor had an issue with the superior supervisor. The contract was not to be renewed. Okay, the contract was not to be renewed because the person's performance was actually bad. And everyone within the organization actually knew that this guy will not survive. What this guy did was to write a scaring letter and drop it in the office, saying that if you don't extend my contract, you will not stay in South Sudan. The supervisor was a foreigner. So, of course, the contract was extended, okay, but for a shorter time, okay? So the person used the force to make sure that their contract is extended. What this person did not realize is that the supervisors, his supervisor also had the contract coming to an end. So what happened was that the supervisor waited when his contract is actually ending. So as she was actually a woman. As she was boarding a plane to come to Juba, she left a letter firing this person behind. So you cannot win over a person who has more power than you. So the person thought, okay, my contract has been extended and that's okay. Yet the boss was actually buying time to make sure that the moment I'm boarding, I will leave a recommendation behind. And that is what happened. And indeed the person was fired and the boss was already in her West African country. Okay, so you cannot win over your bosses. It's one of the rules that you have to know. Okay, so that is a precursor to the main issue. So for you to understand the nature of organizations and what happens in organizations and why office politics now becomes an important concept. So when we talk about office politics, we are basically referring to the techniques people use to influence issues at the workplace. Okay? The techniques that people use to influence okay, let me first check this. Okay. Can you hear me? Confirm that you can hear me.
Yeah, you are loud and clear.
But can you zoom the presentation?
My screen could be having issues. Yeah, but just confirm that you can hear me loud and clear.
Okay.
Yes, we are hearing. From the beginning, I was not hearing you totally. It is just, it is now that I'm hearing you.
Moses, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm getting you loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, if I break off along the way, please, any one of you can text me a message. Because here I've just seen a message from Dennis. He was saying he wasn't hearing me that well.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
clear now, yeah.
Good. There's no echo.
Yes, no echo.
Okay. Okay, so I was basically explaining what office politics is. I'm saying that office politics is basically the techniques that people use in order to get what they want. It is basically about influence, power, and managing relations. If you don't do these things, you may get stagnated. Okay? You need to know how to play around with the systems. What networks do you establish? Who are your friends and who are your enemies? And how do you maneuver amongst these groups of people to get the increment in salary, to get the promotion, and make sure that you survive at the workplace. That's what we call office politics. Often there is a feeling that it is bad to play politics. In this presentation, I'm of the view that it's not bad. Okay, it is not bad as long as you don't harm people along the way. Okay, there are people who want to get to the top, but in their journey to the top, they are stepping on two people's toes. That is not good. That is being manipulative, and that is not good politics. Those are not good tactics, because success that you get that is attributed to those tactics is usually short-lived. Okay, it will come back to bite you. Okay, it may take time, but it will come and bite you. So don't use manipulative tactics. When we talk about manipulative tactics, we mean don't backbite people. Okay, don't sabotage people's programs or projects. Don't be malicious in evaluation. Okay, you give someone low scores in their performance evaluation just because you want them not to replace you or something like that. And often this is where the phrase that the world is round comes in. Okay, what goes around comes around. So that is harmful manipulation. Okay, it is also very important for you to know that these harmful manipulations happen at the workplace. So not everything that is actually in the workplace will always be rosy. There are tactics that people will play to make sure that you don't succeed. So also you need to be aware of this for you to be able to succeed. The politics that we want you to play is when you really put in your energy and get the credit that you really deserve. Focus on your goals in the workplace, and when you treat people well with respect that they actually deserve, then there you will grow. You use tactics of influencing, creating relationships that are very vital, making sure that you perform well in your job, making sure that perhaps you acquire new skills and upgrade yourself. Those are important tactics that you can always use, and they are healthy competition tactics. So let's come to the real game now. The truth of the matter is that people play games at the workplace. They are not games like Domina where people gather and then play. They are actually hidden and you need to have the eyes to see them. Okay, so you are playing games, your boss is playing games, and your colleagues are also playing games, but you don't openly discuss about these games, but these games are actually there. So how would you recognize that people are actually playing power games? There are certain patterns that you should always be able to look for. Okay, these patterns actually hide in plain sight. There are things that you have been ignoring, but they actually signaling to you something. So what are examples of these patterns? For example, in meetings you see that when a person A makes a suggestion, a person C objects. Okay, so that is the first meeting. You go for the second meeting, it's the same thing. A person A brings an idea, a person C objects. That's a pattern that is creeping up. It is either intended to make the person A feel inferior, or it is intended to show us that person A is not actually competent. Okay, so you should be able to see these patterns. Okay, it could be you are doing something incredibly well, you're actually winning. When you present your results, everyone is clapping and showing that yes, that is our guy, he has done it. That person is not appeased. So you did the second time, it's the same thing. The third time, it's the same thing. So there are patterns that
I think network is not good.
you need to be cognizant of that. There is a message in there. Okay. And then another thing is what I'm calling the feeling of winning. When, for example, you have a disagreement over how to approach a certain problem, and then you come up with the alternatives. So your two alternatives are being debated, and then the debate follows a pattern where it is not a constructive dialogue, where you really need to see that the organization wins. Okay, so you have two people who are opposing one another, and their interest is not about the organization winning, but their interest is that the other person's idea should not go through. And indeed, if it happens, this person will be boasting around. Okay, so that boasting around is what I'm calling a feeling of winning. So the other person feels that they have actually won. Okay, if indeed their idea is what is going to be implemented, they should just go ahead with implementing the idea and not boasting about it that, yes, you see, my idea is the one that actually won. You see, the problem with him is that he doesn't understand. He thinks so that verbalization is an indication that this someone is saying that my voice is breaking, but I'm trying to record, so you will get the recording. So there shouldn't be that feeling. The moment you have that feeling, you should just notice that there are power games that are being played. And then overly being resistant to everything that the other person is saying. Okay, that's also an indication that there are power games that are being played. Often, of course, like I said, that these games are silent games. They are not brought to the surface. People may not notice them. Okay, so usually their motives are not obvious. They are not stated. Okay, they don't state why A is fighting C. They don't mention it. Okay, so the motives are usually hidden. Okay, so what do you do? What do you do when you look at these power games? What do you do when you see these power games? What you can do is perhaps handle them direct head on by directly confronting the person and saying, I see that there is this and this and that. I've seen you in the other meeting, this is what you did. In the other meeting, this is what you did. And here, this is what you're doing. What are you after? That is exposing the game. Okay? And then the other approach could be making what we are calling counter moves. Someone perhaps could be playing mind games that let us say your department is not delivering as expected, and that you are not reaching the targets that you have set. What you can perhaps do is mobilize your team and make sure that you actually surpass the goals that have been set. That's directly countering what the other person is actually saying. Okay? And the other trick is to say, no, I will not enter into those games. This is another very important skill that you need to know. Which battles do you choose to engage in? Okay? There are sometimes where you need to ignore the battle. Okay? And don't engage in them. Okay? So know which one you can engage in and which one you can sit out. You don't need to be part of. Okay, so from that point, let me first check if we are still on the same track. Are some people hearing me? Some people are saying my network is not okay. Other people hearing me well, loud and clear?
No, it's okay.
Yes, actually, I'm hearing you, but sometimes it is breaking.
Yes, Joseph?
Yes, I say
Okay.
sometimes. I do hear you, but it do
Yes,
cut sometimes.
Guy
But
is
it's okay.
saying he can hear me. So, unfortunately, we shall have to do with these network issues until it is solved, perhaps by next week. Yes, Jansuk, you have
Yes,
the
sir.
hand
I'm
up.
still hear you, but the voice break.
Yes, for now, I think the network has improved a bit, but the 10 minutes back was a bit not good.
But it is
Okay.
it is cutting. It does not actually stable.
Okay. Let me just continue like that and see if I can be able to upload it later so that you can watch it. All right. So usually there is that saying that you don't want to enter into what we call a pig's fight. You cannot be clean if you want to fight with a pig. You get dirty. Okay, so that saying relates to the fact that you really need to know how to pick your battles. If you don't know how to pick your battles, you end up fighting with the pig and you get dirty. And for it, that is its nature. Okay, so know the battles that you can enter. So other games that people play related to what we call ego. This is where psychology becomes very, very important. There are people who really glorify their achievements, and they throw these achievements in front of everyone's ears. There is one time a colleague of mine wanted a document from one person. So that document was supposed to be used for as a benchmark for us to develop another document. So this person said, hello, madam, I am so and so. I would like you to share with me this document. We want to use it to review a document that we shall use for ABCD. The reply from that madam was that, by the way, who are you? For purposes of clarity, I am so and so. I hold 2 masters in this and that. I have a PhD in this, and I'm pursuing this kind of masters. That's ego. Okay, that is an ego game. The point was very simple. I want you to share with me a document. And then the person diverted the conversation to their qualification. Okay. Even if that person didn't have the qualification that matches hers, that was not the subject of the email. Okay. So at your workplace, there will always be people who will project that on others. What do they aim to achieve? They aim to make you inferior. They aim to make you subdued. They aim to make you not assertive. They don't want to have a person who can stand their ground and say, we need to do A because of ABCD. The moment someone brings in what they have, someone will tell you, by the last 3 years, I've been the best employee in this organization, so I know what I'm doing. That is an ego. Okay? I won a scholarship to do ABCD. That is an ego. I have this and that. That is an ego. So please, if you're actually one of those that are playing with ego games, they don't really work. They don't work. Okay? So avoid ego games. And then we have those who postpone work. Okay? There are many reasons as to why people don't do the work that they have been assigned to, and they keep postponing. Procrastination. Okay? Say, I will do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I will do it next month. And then the days go. These, you need to be very careful. These are actually games. Why are they games? They can be people who are interested in your position and they want to make sure that you appear as weak. You're not delivering the results. Okay? You're not delivering the results. They gave you a project, you did not push it to the end at the right time. Okay? So beware. Know who is playing these games. Know who is genuine about postponing their work. So those are the ones that we call the escape games. So this is where tactics to do with when you're communicating, how do you communicate with a difficult person? We shall look at the different types of people and the games that they play. You will notice that there are people who are not really easy to work with, but how do you work with them? For example, how would you work with a person who is always saying that I will finish it tomorrow, the other day, and things like that? Let me maybe open the floor for discussion. So how do you work around that? Yes, Michael. Michael, your mic is open. Anyone who can tell us what they can do? Yes, any ideas?
Important
Yes.
lecture, and it's exactly what what is happening on the ground.
Yes, Michael, go ahead.
For
Give us your
example,
ideas. Yes.
are you getting me?
Yes, Michael. Any other person? How can you handle a person who is always pushing work ahead?
Hello? Hello?
Yes. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm just want to say like this is a very important session, and it's really touching what is up really life. For example, what you said about the gameplay and power games, I mean, handling power games, and there's something that sometimes you see the fellow colleagues inciting other friends because of the position. That's what you say. And when the case has reached to them, maybe to the office, your office also approve and they seconded what the fellow staff say. And that one sometimes result to the division of the staff. To what you say, I think it's very
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Michael.
comprehensive. I
Yes.
think it has got to the office.
All right. Yes, so let's look at the different political actors. So just imagine that at your workplace, you have these types of people that you're working with. Or perhaps you also need to evaluate yourself. Where do you actually fall? Okay? Where do you fall? It's very important to assess yourself. So we have the first one, who are winners. The winners are the ones who know the game, and they will always play, or they will always press the right buttons. They make the right moves. They know which steps to make and which steps to avoid. They know the walls that they need to establish. They know the walls they need to stand out of. Okay? So those are winners. So these are people who are characterized by they're happy at work, they can communicate with anyone, they get their results, they are promoted, they get the salary that they deserve. And in case there is any issue to do with the funding or the organization is not doing well, they cannot think about him in terms of either they need to make sure that they dismiss him or something like that. Okay, so that's a winner. So this is a political genius. He knows the moves. And then we have the psychopath. This is the person who is actually selfish. Is the selfish individual. They are interested in their own goals, personal goals, and they are not interested in the organization objectives. Okay? So these are people who will actually come and knock on the finances office to ask for their salary even when they know that during the month the organization did not make any money if it is a private organization. Okay? Even if it is an NGO, sometimes the salary delays. So for them, they want their money, whether you have the money there that month or not, they want their money. So they are self-centered. They are not interested in what direction the organization is following. That's a sociopath. And then we have a martyr. A martyr is one who is doing the donkey work. He doesn't know how to say no. He doesn't know how to say no. He's an appeaser. He wants to please everyone. He wants to appease everyone. We actually call this person a pathological appeaser. Okay? You want to make everyone happy. You don't want to have you don't want to be like such a person. because that sacrifice comes at a cost of you sacrificing your life or your personal life for the organization. So these are people who always be around the workplace on Saturday, on Sunday, and they work beyond 5. They are very early at work, okay, because they want to make sure that all the work is done and the work is coming from all directions. They have the HR, the finance, the boss, the what. Okay, so that's the matter. You don't want to be in that category because you'll be worn down. And then you have this guy who we are calling the dimwit. It's not a very good word to use to call a person that, but this is a person who actually does things that damage him personally or her personally, but again, at the same time, damage the organization. These are people who lack integrity, who are dishonest, who are manipulative. So these people are out of the 4 categories. I think they are the worst. Okay? So check yourself, see where you belong. Okay? So in my subsequent presentations or slides, I will talk about how to be a winner. How can you be a winner? Because everyone actually needs to be a winner. So this is where we want to focus on. So before we look at that, we can first look at the concept of power. In management, we tell you that power is about is either about your position, is about power that you get virtue of association with very powerful people. It can be power that is associated with the fact that you have resources and things like that. But in this case, we are going to focus on 2 types of power. The power that you have because you are, let us say, the project coordinator, project manager. That's what we call position power. You hold that power because of the position you have in an organization. Then we have personal power. These are now individuals who derive power because of their personal characteristics. The way they talk to people, the way they interact, they project themselves, that is personal power. So you can have both position power and personal power. It's also possible to have personal power without position power. It's also possible to be a person who has position power but without personal power. Okay? So what's the key lesson in here? Is that regardless of your position in an organization, you can still be powerful. Okay? There is a book I think called A Leader Without Power. Not a leader without power. A leader without position. Okay? A leader without position. And that comes with the issues to do with personal power. So sometimes you will see in organizations where let us say the executive director does not ask for advice from the deputy executive director, but goes and asks an officer who is in the field, and then the officer will make will give advice and make a decision, and then the executive director implements it. Okay? So that officer in the field is making decisions not because of their position, but because of their personal power. So there are people who are gifted in how they analyze issues, how they project themselves. So that becomes very key. I have a picture of a receptionist here, and it is very deliberate to have that picture. There is a story, I'm not very sure if it is actually very accurate, but most of you should be familiar with a journalist called Jeff Konange. Jeff is the last journalist who interviewed the president, I think, in J1. I think it must have been around 2021. He's a Kenyan journalist, very powerful journalist. Okay, so he has all these connections that you can think about. So the story with Jeff Konange is that he worked at one time with the CNN. But how did he get the job with the CNN? It is said that he went to New York and he wanted to go direct to meet the big person and say, I want a job here. But before he did that, he met someone around the doorsteps who was actually polishing shoes, and then said, ask this person to polish his shoes before he goes. So this guy who is polishing his shoes asks Jeff, what do you need here? And Jeff was very clear, I need to get a job here, I want to see the boss. And then that person actually took him up to the boss. And that is how he got the job. So you can see that the person who will elevate you to that level where you want to be may not be a person who has who has a higher position. Okay? It may not be that person. The cleaner could be the person who can easily connect you to the boss. Okay? The driver, the receptionist. Okay? So you really need to know the power dynamics. Okay? So basically the rule here is that don't ever undermine anyone. Okay? The gatekeeper that you see could be an uncle to the boss. And then for you, as you enter in the organization, you're boasting around, you're not greeting, you're undermining, your look is very weird. You will not get what you want. Okay? So know those games. Some people misuse power. They make mistakes with power. One of the mistakes that people make is not to grab the power if they are given an opportunity. Okay? You are given an opportunity to lead, but then you don't lead. They tell you that this project, you're the one to lead it, and then you're like, no, I will not be able to do it. I don't have the skills to do it. That's a strategic mistake. So you are basically not up to the task. When a person gives you a job to do, it is basically that you're basically like you're doing internship. You're practicing to be in that big position. So if they delegate work to you, please make sure that you do the best. It is preparation for you for that big seat. The other mistake is that you are powerful, but then don't realize that you're powerful and you surrender your power to another person. That's another mistake. Okay? So don't surrender your power to another person. If you are in a position and it is very clear in your job description that these are the roles that you have to undertake, why do you always have to consult another person to do your roles? That means that you have actually surrendered your power. Ego and arrogance is the key here, and we have explained the ego part, where you project being superior over others. That is a killer. And then arrogance is also another one. Okay? And then another mistake is for people to use power that they do not have. Don't use power that you do not have. Don't make a decision that you are not the one to make. Okay? Don't make those mistakes. Okay? And then emotional outbursts. Emotional intelligence is very key. Know how to control them. So if you are emotionally charged, it it could be proper that you actually withdraw from that conversation and have it another day. Okay? If you have emotional outbursts, you're actually losing it. You're not emotionally intelligent. Okay, so this slide actually focuses on some of the things that perhaps we have talked about, or some new things. They are still very important. Know that there are power dynamics at work. Okay, we have said that at the workplace, there are those that have real power, and there are those that have that do not really possess real power. It is possible to have a finance manager being very powerful compared to the executive director. So know who has more power in the organization. That's point number one. Know the people who matter and build relationships with them. Know the people who matter and build relationships with them. You cannot grow alone. Okay? You will need that recommendation letter. You will need that reference check. Okay? You will need that promotion. You will not promote yourself. You need your supervisor to promote you. So if you don't take time to build positive relationships, then you cannot really move forward. And then communication. As you progress in your career, you will realize that one of the biggest skills that you will ever have is communication. It's one of the biggest skills. Leave alone your technical skills. Communication is very key. Whether by email, whether by WhatsApp, whether by oral or written, please master your techniques. Master them, hone them. You will not get what you want because of your tone of communication. And I've seen this very often. And often when you write to me in a tone that is portraying that you're commanding, I will just say, please, Tyler, I will not act on this. Okay, so know that. Have the proper communication skills. Know what you want. People are interested in signing a contract and then starting a job, and they don't have a mission for which they have to accomplish while at that job. Okay, what is your mission? What is your goal? Okay, there is a difference between wishing and a goal. You can have a wish, but a wish is not enough. A goal is much more better. So a goal, if you have a goal for a job position that you're having, what goal is it? And if you actually know the goal, then it means that you know what networks to establish and which minor issues you need to avoid at the workplace. Self-advocate. Later on, I will talk about issues to do with the fact that your work alone will not be enough to testify that you actually deserve a pay rise or a promotion. How you strategically place yourself to make sure that you get these benefits and rewards that are associated with the work is very important. So self-advocacy is very key, and visibility. Okay, you cannot do good work and then you hide and then you think that the promotion will come out of the blue, right? Or you think that the contract extension will come out of the blue. Okay, some of you, your supervisor says you once in some many months, and because for you are happy, you have a contract of 6 months, you don't think about the fact that the 6 months will end. Okay, and you think that the supervisor will think about you when the 6 months end. The supervisor will think about people that have always been available to him or her. Okay, so strategically be visible to the people who matter. That's the point. you cannot become visible to your village mates who are not going to promote you anyway. Okay? Or you cannot be very visible to people who are not going to promote you in an organization. So personal visibility at the workplace is very key. And this I relate it to what we call effective presence at the workplace. There should be things that should notify people that indeed you're either present or absent. The moment your absence is not felt, then it means there is something wrong with you. So if you don't work today and everything goes normally and no one misses you, you have a very big problem. Okay, so positive relationships, I've mentioned that. The techniques to read the environment, people fail to master this. At the workplace, there are signals, and you need to read and interpret them accurately. Okay? From either the tone of voice, from even in these meetings, these regular meetings that we people have at the workplace, there is something that is being communicated, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So you need to read explicit messages and implicit messages. I can say in one meeting that we are doing extremely very well, and this in the last quarter, the results are very, very, very good, and we are moving in the right direction. Okay? And then in there, read the body language, read everything, such that you can be able to preempt situations. There is a story of an organization that closed one of its projects. So people didn't read the mood. So everything was actually going on well. They reported to work, everything was so okay. And then all of a sudden, around 11 a.m., everyone is called for one emergency meeting. And that emergency meeting was to say that the project is closed and everyone is going home, but we are going to pay you for the next 4 months. People were shocked. Why? Why did you get shocked? It is because you did not pay attention to listen. So there is that message that is always spoken, but there is that message that is also silent, but is being communicated. But people don't want to hear that. Okay? So who are the people who lack what you call political intelligence? You have seen the characteristics of individuals who actually know what they need to do. These are the ones. And then these ones are the people who don't know what to do. The people who are always complaining. You're complaining from January to December. Who has said that you are supposed to be permanently employed in that organization? Actually, any person who comes to me and they say that they are complaining, the simple thing is, please just pack your things and leave the organization. Okay? So complaining is not actually always good. But some complaints are of course genuine and they can be listened to. But there is what we call a perennial complainant. Perennial complainant. Year after year, that is the same person who is complaining. Okay? There are people who always complain about salary increment, and in every meeting they will always bring that out. What you're doing, you're actually increasing your visibility, but in a negative way. So when you have the senior management teams coming to have a meeting with the staff, and the first thing they have to discuss is how are we going to handle A? Because A is going to speak. That A is not politically smart. Okay? So know your limits, very important. Condescending is about underlooking people, claiming that you actually know more than everyone. Yes, okay, let us accept that you know more than everyone, but don't push it through people's throats. Condescending. Don't push it through people's what? Throats. So don't look people in a way that makes that portrays them as being stupid, as being inferior. Don't do that. You will have enemies and friends. Know how to handle them. These are the ones we are calling adversaries. Know how to really handle them. Major things that you should avoid: poorly controlling your emotions, playing the victim card. Playing the victim card is very common, and in this case, I don't know who is joining with their mic open. Please don't join with your mic open. Who is this person? Michael.
Yes.
Mute, please. You're having unnecessary echoes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, so the victim mentality, I wish I changed this to what you call tribe mentality. Tribe mentality is actually very common in this country. Tribalism, basically, and it is being used as a scapegoat in every area. So if it is recruitment, if it is downsizing, people always look for that pattern. Say how many people from this tribe have been downsized, and how many people from this. If it is downsizing, it is downsizing. That is it. Okay, so avoid playing the victim what? The victim card. It is a common issue. I've encountered it several times. Okay, so avoid that. Don't be a self-centered person. Be a person who looks at the organizational goals and objectives and push towards that direction. The moment you become self-centered, everything is about you. Okay, you say, okay, going forward, we shall be arriving at work at 7:30. And then you're like, but for me, I come from very far. Okay, you're not looking at what the organization will achieve by the workers arriving earlier. Okay, that is self-centeredness. And then the last one that you need to avoid in order to not to destroy your career is foolish reaction to change. How you handle change is very vital, and how you react to it determines your success. Okay, so be aware of that. Basically, know how to handle the whole situation. Okay, handling relationships is one of the key things. You have enemies and friends. How do you handle them? Some of them, the enemies, of course, the strategies for handling enemies. Like I said earlier on, sometimes you don't need to directly confront it head on, because you will get that along the way. Okay, so you may choose to downplay that adversary. Okay, or you may choose to go head on and confront the issues, but you need to read the environment properly for you to decide on how to handle the enemies. For the friends, of course, you consolidate the friendship. Okay? So, for you to succeed, we looked at the 4 P's, what we call the 4 P's of political success. Read the environment properly. Assess assess the organization. Who is having power? How did he acquire power? And how is he using the power? And then you assess, associate appropriately. Okay? Of course, do your work. There is no substitute for doing very good work. So your performance will mean your success. Partnerships, which I've just talked about, you do the assessment, know where the power lies, and then associate or make partnerships. And then lastly, the perception. Perception management. Perception management moves around with the reputation management. How you want people to really look at you. Okay? If you want to be looked as a serious person, there is a particular way you need to act, speak, associate. There are things that you are supposed to be doing. If you want to be looked at as a person who is carefree, then of course that will actually come out in an obvious manner. It will be seen by everyone. You are late at work, in meetings you don't contribute positively, you don't really... So people will have a perception about you. Okay? But the thing is, you have some extent of control on what people have about you, what perception they will have about you. So think about that perception. Some people, even before, sometimes you have people who do not have the required qualifications to be in a particular position, but they are actually there. Okay? One of the issues could be perception issue. Okay? The person is doing their work excellently. Okay? And everyone thinks, okay, that guy has a master's. But in reality, the person could be having a diploma. That is perception. Okay? So the way you do your things at work will create an impression or a perception about you. One of the key things is what we call privilege. Privilege is when you come to a negotiation table or when you come to a discussion table, there are certain things that you could be having that make that negotiation very easy for you. That's what we call privilege. Okay? So if you come to the office of your supervisor for a promotion, the discussion could be easier if you recently acquired a degree, you got a very good performance appraisal, but also maybe you have a job offer from another organization. So you have all the things and you have them on your table and you're asking for a promotion or a salary increment. It will be very hard for the person to say no because you have actually increased your privilege. Okay? So note that. So privilege is very important and you need to work on it. In an organization, what are those unique things that make it difficult for your supervisor to say, please just go home, we don't want you to work with us anymore? That's privilege. Okay? So still, you need to do the accurate assessment and understand where you have a superior edge and where you need to improve in order to increase your chances of surviving. One key lesson here is that know that privilege can change. Privilege can change. Just assume the executive director, in one way or the other, whether acceptable or not, is having a relationship with a sexual relationship, let's say, with the human resource. Okay? In that organization, whether you like it or not, the human resource has a privilege because the person on top, they are having a relationship. So you cannot in any way shake that human resource easily. But what happens when the executive director is fired and another person is brought? The human resource will be brought back to zero. The human resource will lose privilege. Okay? So know that privilege in a workplace can shift. Okay? You could be the project coordinator, and then changes come from nowhere. You become the project manager under the project coordinator. You have lost your leverage. So leverage keeps shifting. But the key thing to survive in such situations is you need to create partnerships in the workplace. Okay, know the people who matter and form positive relations with them. The other issue is one, it is also echoes the first one that we started with, issues to do with justice. For you to assume that you'll be treated fairly is not one of the realities in the workplace. So forget about fairness. That's the point there. So how do you increase your leverage? Form partnerships, work with different people. Big things of forming cliques will not actually make you win. You are a Madi in an organization, you only associate with the Madis in that organization. When it comes to other tribes, you are not interested in knowing what they are doing. The organizations you go to in the field, and in the evening hours when they are relaxing, work is done, you find them in groups. And those groups are based by tribe or region. So you find the Equatorians in their own clique, you find the others, Bargazal in their own clique, you get it. Those are cliques or clustering in an organization. If you want to succeed, make sure that you can blend. That's why we have this image here, working with people with different backgrounds is very key. So it increases your leverage. Okay? That's very key. Improve on your skills, empower your brain, basically. That's another. If you're a clinical officer but you have a qualification in project management, you have higher chances of surviving than a person who has only a certificate of a diploma in clinical medicine. Partnerships, I've ever emphasized that. Then leverage is related to how information is kept in an organization. The HR that I talked about, one of the reasons as to why that HR is very powerful is because that person has access to information. We actually call that information privileged information. Okay? The executive director has information that perhaps he is sharing with the lover who is the human resource. So the human resource is having privilege because they know what the executive director is thinking about. Okay? Now, another person who can have privilege is the person who is a friend to the HR, and the HR is able to share information with that person. So that person knows a lot of secrets. So knowing secrets is a leverage actually. But you can lose that leverage the moment you start to spill the secrets. So secrets will always be there in an organization. The people who know these secrets are privileged, but the moment they start to be loose with their mouth, they will lose that privilege. So that means that keeping quiet is actually leverage. Performance. If you do your work excellently, you deliver on time, you have privilege. And then being objective. And that is to say that in every decision that comes, and you have to be the one to make that decision, your objective, you'll be viewed favorably by all the other people. That increases your leverage. So assess yourself and see what leverage you actually have. Okay? So the last slide here are some statements which I think are actually fitting to conclude the discussion. The first one is that invisible contribution has no political value. Let me ask you to explain that statement. Who can explain that statement? Invisible contribution has no political value. Hey, I want to know that you have been hearing me. So anyone? Yes, George.
Yes, Director, thank you so much. Let me try. What it mean by invisible contribution have no political value is that anything that we do which is meaningless, which cannot contribute positively to a political value, does not help in any political win. Let's refer back to the discussions of the fourth.
Okay, thank you. Okay, another person?
The contribution will be visible by having the political assessment. You assess the political, you know what types of people are you dealing with in the office, and then look at your also the.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly the point. When you do this
your performance, and then partnerships, you need also to be partnering with the colleagues, such that your contribution be actually positive or be visible in a political related manner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, thank you for that explanation. Yes, the point here is that have what we call intentional visibility. Intentional visibility. If you do this work extremely very well and no one is noticing how you're doing an excellent work, it's not going to push you. You're not going to move. You will study and get your bachelor's here from Bristol, and you go back to your workplace and no one notices that you actually have a bachelor's. So you remain with your salary for a diploma for another 1 year, okay, or 2 years, until you leave the organization. No one will notice you. So that means that intentional visibility is very important. If you do your work and no one sees it, okay, maybe another time we can talk about how do you make sure that you can be visible in an organization. Maybe it could be a discussion of another day. So that is statement number 1. Jackson, you wanted to add something to it, right?
I think I'm much convinced elaborated. You know, the most important thing here, what we should base. So many we are not doing things that are really natural. First of all, of whatever organization or whatever institution they are in, then it will not actually our like our knowledge and that we are supposed to be in order to meet the organization's objective. So it is all about the evidence kind of. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay.